First, Virginia Hausiger, ABC newsreader and Canberra Times columnist, has stirred debate with her suggestion that the wearing of the burqa should be banned. It started with her newspaper column last Saturday, and talkback radio, internet chat rooms and letters to the editor have been buzzing ever since. She described the burqa as an arrogant display of disrespect to Australia and the Australian way of life. Apparently, it's also disrespectful to France and the French way of life, with President Sarkozy having already called for a similar ban. But what does the rest of Canberra think, especially Canberra's Muslim women?
I don't think there's a need to ban it. I think religious freedom of expression is important.
Trying to ban something which is a cultural symbol for one group is a way of alienating that group.
Everyone has a right to their own religious expression. It doesn't harm anyone, it's their own choice.
So I think it puts women down. You know, it's a man's power over a woman. No, I don't approve of them at all.
The women must be satisfied to wear them, or else they wouldn't, because a lot of them don't wear them.
If they choose to wear them, that's their choice, much as if I choose to wear this silly hat.
So I think that it's probably just opportunism, the mere fact that there is this debate going on in France by Mr Sarkozy coming out and saying what he's saying, but he's only saying that for political reasons, and there's obviously an agenda there for him. But I don't think that that is the case in Australia, and I don't believe that that people actually genuinely support a ban of this nature. I mean, are you going to ban other dress codes? I mean, look at the Jewish faith. Women are also wear a headscarf. Are we suggesting that all headscarves be banned? This is not something that I believe is an issue, and to make it an issue is just ridiculous.
That kind of statement actually angers me in a sense, because I see Australia as a very tolerant society, and I myself, I don't wear the burqa, I don't even wear the hijab out when I'm, going to uni or whatever, and I see myself as a very tolerant person, and I would accept what everyone else is wearing. And to say that about someone who chooses to wear that is very intolerant and disrespectful in some senses, because there's a lot of underlying reasons why people would wear it, and to just label them as being arrogant towards society in general, it just doesn't make sense.
It's just really impractical to have an umbrella policy banning something, especially in this day and age where everybody's so well informed on their basic rights and their values, and the fact that we can express ourselves in different ways regardless of our faith and regardless of whether that may be so different as to somebody else. That's the whole point of the human experience, to be yourself and be true to that person. So I just can't see any practicality in having something like this, because it just won't work. Maybe 100 years ago, but not now. Not anymore.
And even if you were to, let's say, ban the burqa, you'd have to ban everything else as well. Any sort of freedom of expression, we should all just dress in a uniform, and that's the end of that, I mean, for example, I think it is particularly interesting, though, that for the longest time the burqa has become such a political issue. And not that I want to pick on any other religion, but then, we're very accepting of seeing Christian nuns in their full outfit, and they're regarded as very, highly regarded in the community. And I think that sometimes Muslim women in the community, they need to be given a bit of a break, right? This is their choice, and they should be respected for that.
What is the burqa?
The burqa is a dress, and it dates back to pre-Islamic times, and it was worn in the deserts by both males and females, and it was essentially a form of protection against the hot wind and the sand and the dust. So that's how it originated back in the Middle East, long before Islam.
Well, I think it represents a form of identity. And again, it's dependent on, how each individual sees that as a form of identity. And as you may already be aware, there are some people who choose to wear it and others don't. And it's a matter of individual judgment as to what is their preferred way of representing their identity. So there is no compulsion, as is anything in religion.
Is it true at all that it's worn so women aren't seen as a temptation to men?
Well, if you go back to the origins of the burqa, as I mentioned to you, it originally originated as a form of protection against the heat and the dust. And the second purpose was also in those times, women were seen as a form of temptation, and in those times the burqa would provide some kind of protection, and basically result in men not being tempted or sort of forming a view of a particular person because they dressed in a fully concealed way.
In Australia, are there times when women are forced to wear the burqa where they have no choice?
I don't think that is the situation. As I said, when you're in prayer, there is a particular code of dress that we are required to follow, and that's compulsory while you're praying. So,
what is that code of dress in prayer?
Yeah, in prayer, the code of dress is that a woman covers her whole body, excepting the face and the hands. So if you take the old burqa or the niqab, it's covering the face as well. And you may have seen, with just the eyes open, but there is no evidence in history or in Islam as that being a requirement for the woman.
For a lot of women, it is an issue of personal security and protection, and in really conservative societies like Iran and Afghanistan, even if they weren't told to under the Taliban, I have a feeling that for their own sense of security they would choose to do that anyway. I know that if I was going to Afghanistan or Iran, I would probably do that as well, not because I have extreme views or anything like that, but just as a form of security against, just any sort of unsafety or prying eyes or anything like that.
If you look to the Quran and the Sunnah, what our religion requires us to do is to be ready in a state of prayer whenever we are dressed or going out, and that requirement allows you to have your hands open and your face open. So it's in interpreting the Quran, I don't really see it as something that's you're required to do.
Even in the Quran, it allows for a lot of different interpretation, whether you're living as a young person in the Middle East in a really conservative society or you're living in Australia, for example, it allows for a lot of different interpretations. So I guess the reason why I don't choose to wear the burqa in Australia is because, one, I feel totally comfortable walking down the street dressed as I am, and I feel that modesty as well, it's got to do with more than just what you wear. It's how you act, and what's in your heart will reflect your behaviour for other people. So I think that's definitely an important factor on why I don't choose to wear it.
Who is the woman under the burqa?
Well, these are women that they've got families, they have jobs, they're contributing to their communities, and I think in some way, the reason why they wear the burqa is because instead of just judging them from what's on the outside, maybe they also want to be given the opportunity for you to have a chat to them and see what's going on inside. So they're not just being judged on face value. I mean, these women are just like all of us here. They all have lives separate to what's on the exterior, and I think that they just want the opportunity to be regarded in that way.
A lot of the underlying reasons why people do wear the burqa is because they do want to be judged for their personality rather than their appearance first. So a lot of people, especially in Western societies, they are judged for their appearance first because that's what makes the first impression. And a lot of Muslim women believe that women should be judged for their personality and their intellect more than their appearance. So that's why they believe they should wear it.
Women that you know who wear the burqa, what sort of reactions do they experience when they're wearing it?
I think some of them feel that they're being, observed more than others because of the form of dress. And I think at the same time they believe in it and take pride in wearing it. So they're not going to give it up because of the reaction.
And there's a public forum planned on this subject at the ANU in the next fortnight. We'll keep you posted.